Hello, happy Monday and all that. Welcome to your NEWSMAX Daily for September 9th, 2024, or 9/9/24, digitally, as most of us are. The 253rd day of the year. It's the 81st day of summer. Yes, it is still summer for 13 more days, the second of 5 Mondays this month. September 9th is National Emergency Services Day, celebrating the contributions of police officers, firefighters, paramedics, dispatchers, and other emergency responders. So if that's you, today is your day, and kudos to you for doing what you do. There is also a First Responders Day, which includes other occupations as well. That is actually next month. Hope you had a fantastic and safe weekend. If you're listening right now, then you likely didn't win the Powerball or the Mega Millions either. Maybe you won some money at least betting on football. I shamefully didn't do too good in that department either. Monday Night Football features the return of Aaron Rodgers and the Jets in San Francisco. The Powerball jackpot tonight, $121 million. And topping the news, we are now one day away from the big presidential debate.
And she's worse than him. He is a smarter person than she is. Oh, they're waiting for the debate. You know, if I destroy her in the debate, they'll say, Trump suffered a humiliating defeat tonight. No matter what.
Donald Trump speaking at a rally in Wisconsin on Saturday. Vice President Harris was off the campaign trail for the weekend as she continues preparing for tomorrow night's debate.
And finally, I will support modifying the 25th Amendment to make clear that if a vice president lies or engages in a conspiracy to cover up the incapacity of the president of the United States, if you do that with a cover-up of the President of the United States, it's grounds for impeachment immediately and removal from office, because that's what they did. That's what they did. You know, think of it. If he didn't go to that debate, he'd still be running. He'd still be running. To every citizen who's sick and tired of the parasitic political class in Washington that sucks our country of its blood and treasure, November 5th will be your liberation day. November 5th this year will be the most important day in the history of our country, because we're not going to have a country anymore if we don't win.
Donald Trump in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson spoke with NEWSMAX about Trump's rally and tomorrow's debate.
Republican senator and member of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, Ron Johnson. Senator Johnson, thank you so much for being with me today. He barely won it in 2016. Latest polls show it is a 1-point race with the former president in the lead. Can he do it again in November, and how does he do it?
Morning, Tom. Well, it's going to be a close race. All these statewide races always are. The way he does it is really pointing out how disastrous the Biden-Harris administration's policies have been. The open borders, the 40-year high inflation, the war on fossil fuel, the weakness we've demonstrated around the world, which has really set the world on fire. So you point out what a miserable failure the Biden-Harris administration has been, and then you start pointing to what his program would be, and he's going to do an awful lot of what he did in his administration. It's going to be about economic growth. It's going to be lower the tax burden, lower the regulatory burden, address the threat that China poses to our economy. So again, I think he just lays that out, and hopefully people will pay attention, and hopefully the legacy media won't completely give Kamala Harris a pass on her flip-flopping.
Well, so far they've seemed to do that. She's had something like 86, 89% positive coverage, and it's the flip for Donald Trump. As you mentioned, Senator, clearly the economy is top of mind for voters in Wisconsin and all across the country. Former President Trump unveiled his plan to strengthen the country's economy this week before the Economic Club of New York. Here's a little bit of that speech.
My plan will rapidly defeat inflation, quickly bring down prices, and reignite explosive economic growth. First, I will end Kamala Harris's anti-energy crusade and implement a policy of energy abundance. Second, to further defeat inflation, my plan will terminate the Green New Deal. Third, I will launch a historic campaign to liberate our economy from crippling regulation. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government, further taming inflation and bringing prices way down. The fifth pillar of my plan is to make the Trump tax cuts permanent.
Senator, your reaction to the plan, and compare that with what we know so far about Kamala Harris's agenda, which includes trillions in spending, raising corporate rates, capital gains taxes, even taxes on gains that have not yet been realized.
Well, we don't know that much about Kamala Harris's agenda other than things she's flip-flopping on and backing away from. She proposed price controls, realized, certainly the media, economists realize what a disaster that would be. So it seems like she's somewhat backing away from that. But, really all you need to do is take a look at the Harris record. 40-year high inflation, the war on fossil fuel. Again, I can go through the litany of horribles. The open border, which we're going to see the negative consequences of that for years, if not decades to come. So again, the Harris administration's policies have been a disaster for this country. It's put us on a road to destruction, whereas President Trump had a successful administration until the COVID recession hit. And that's pretty much out of his control. So again, it's focused on growth. I love the fact that he starts out with energy. I'm a former manufacturer. That was the second highest cost component of our products. Plus, we did plastics, so you also need fossil fuels. You need to keep those resin prices down as well. So President Trump actually participated in the private sector. He knows how hard business is. He knows how hard government taxation and regulation, how much harder it makes businesses to succeed, to create good-paying jobs. So he has the experience. Kamala Harris doesn't have a clue.
Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson on America Right Now with host Tom Basili, Saturday mornings, 9 o'clock Eastern on Newsmax. And this is from Sunday Agenda with Lydia Serrani.
The Kamala Harris honeymoon, it's about to end faster than a Jennifer Lopez marriage, when in just 2 days, President Trump debates Harris on ABC. Kamala desperately wanted the mics to be open during the debate so she could drop the woman card like she did with Vice President Mike Pence multiple times.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well, wait.
I'm speaking.
Yes.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Okay. I will not sit here and be lectured by the Vice President. I'm speaking.
She is so nasty, right? I mean, no wonder more than 90% of her staff quit working for her when she became the vice president. I mean, ABC, they didn't agree to the open mics because it wasn't part of the deal when Trump originally agreed to the debate with Joe Biden. Of course, we know Kamala was installed by the oligarchs, and she has since done only one abysmal interview with her support person, Tim Walz, by her side. She also recently did a radio interview with Univision where she can be heard reading off of notes. Take a listen to this.
I want you to take this time to address Hispanic Americans who may be on the fence about which way to vote on November 5th.
Listen, I think that it's time to move forward and to chart a new way forward. And we need to turn the page on this Trump era.
Speaking of turning the page, did you hear that? Well, let's listen to it again.
It's time to move forward.
Wow, she even pauses as she reads the notes prepared for her. I mean, come on. How is she going to be able to handle a debate with President Trump? According to the rules, no props or pre-written notes will be allowed on stage. Each candidate will be given a pen, a pad, a paper, and a bottle of water, and campaign staff may not interact with candidates during commercial breaks. While Trump has a clear advantage over Harris because he is intelligent, Trump is up against a very well-coordinated machine that continues to gaslight the American people. Watch how the fake news calls Kamala the border czar when Biden was still running, and then says that she was never the border czar when he was forced out.
Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
The left-wing media, it is so desperate, right, to now portray Kamala as some sort of moderate, right? This is the same woman who called for the abolishment of ICE, defunding of the police, likening even ICE agents to the KKK. Now she wants to secure the border. Give me a break. Kamala claiming she wants a border wall, even using Trump's border wall in her campaign video. But we got receipts, girl. We know how you really feel about a border wall.
To suggest that we have to build a wall across our southern border because there are terrorists who are trying to invade the country, it couldn't be farther from the truth.
You know what? This isn't even a flip-flop. Kamala, she's not changing her mind. This is a Kamala. She'll say and do anything to get elected. She'll even lie about working at McDonald's. She is so disingenuous. She even changes her voice depending on whom she's speaking to.
That's Newsmax host Lydia Serrani, who went on from there to play some of the recent Kamala clips of her putting on a variety of accents at different appearances. On Newsmax.com this morning, a new poll finds more voters see Harris as too liberal or progressive on policy than they see Donald Trump as too conservative. The New York Times Siena College poll published Sunday found 44% of voters say Harris is too liberal. 9% said she is not liberal or progressive enough. Man, can you just imagine those 9%? And 42% said she is not too far either way. It's kind of like the porridge is too hot, the porridge is too cold, the porridge is just fine. 5% of people polled said they didn't know or they just refused to answer. Meanwhile, 32% of voters said Donald Trump is too conservative. Again, that is compared to the 44% that said Harris is too liberal. 11% said he is not conservative enough. 50% said he is not too far either way. And again, while Kamala Harris was off the trail preparing for the debate, her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, whose brother and other relatives have all endorsed Donald Trump, spoke yesterday at the annual Gala of Human Rights campaign, an LGBTQ plus advisory organization in Washington, D.C.
Think about this. When I was a kid growing up in Nebraska, being gay was illegal. Still technically illegal.
So being gay in Nebraska is not illegal, and for the record, gay marriage has been recognized in Nebraska since 2015. So far, all Governor Walz has done is make stuff up or just flat out lie, if there's even a difference in that. And the other big political story over the weekend is Hunter Biden's guilty plea to 3 felony tax charges and several misdemeanor charges. And his attorney, don't forget, I played it back on Friday, said Hunter pleaded guilty to protect his family. This is Congressman James Comer, chair of the House Oversight Committee.
Hunter's last-minute guilty plea should not have come as much of a surprise. A jury trial in this case for Hunter and the tax fraud would have, again, exposed the vast and treasonous Biden influence peddling business, which has netted tens of millions of dollars for the Biden family, directly selling access to Joe Biden to China, Russia, adversarial countries, and also other shady businesses and people all around the world. It's as simple as that. Of course they can't go to trial and let that leak out for weeks right before the election. Congressman James Comer is the chair of the House Oversight Committee. His committee's impeachment inquiry uncovered mountains of evidence against the Bidens, and he joins us now. Congressman, your take on Hunter's last-minute guilty plea?
Well, he had to plead guilty. I mean, the evidence is there. It's in plain sight. We've been accumulating the evidence for months and months. We have been very transparent with the American people. He took in millions and millions of dollars and failed to pay taxes on it. Look, a lot of what is in California is based on the fact that he received the money from Burisma and never paid taxes on that. But what wasn't in California, according to the IRS whistleblowers, is the fact that the $27 million that we proved the family took in, the IRS never prosecuted them on that. That's what Shapley and Ziegler were wanting to prosecute Hunter Biden on, but they were told to stand down by the Department of Justice. So the majority of what Hunter Biden didn't pay taxes on, the government never prosecuted him. So this was a pretty good deal for Hunter Biden to plead guilty for the obvious, the income that he got an actual W-2 on. But the vast majority of the money that we proved the Bidens took in, they never paid a penny of taxes on it. So this isn't going to be over if I have anything to do with it. But at the end of the day, it proves that the Bidens are crooks and that Joe Biden has lied about his family's crimes and his involvement in them.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember in 2016, Trump let Hillary off the hook. I mean, he didn't push his DOJ. Everybody just kind of looked the other way. That we knew that Hillary Clinton had destroyed, federally subpoenaed evidence. It was very obvious that it happened. That's a pretty serious crime. Most people go to jail for that. When Trump got out, obviously they took everything they could and are throwing everything but the kitchen sink at him to try and put him in prison for nothing. So my question is, what happens this time? This is like, now we're going to go back. There's a fairly decent chance Trump wins this election, and you're going to have Joe Biden now leaving after a very obvious scheme to make millions and millions of dollars selling access to his power. Do we let another elite just kind of get away with it, or do we actually do something about it?
We better do something about it. We better treat everyone equally under the law. And the law has clearly been broken by the Biden family, not just the Biden family, but the deep state bureaucrats that tried to cover up the Biden crimes. You have the Securities and Exchange Commission, the FBI, the DOJ, the IRS. There are specific employees, career bureaucrats, that need to be held accountable for the cover-up. And this time, when Donald Trump's president, and hopefully he has an attorney general that's aggressive in pursuit of justice, they go after the Biden family as well as the deep state actors who were involved in the cover-up. We've already done the investigation. The investigation's there. Now we need accountability, and unfortunately, accountability appears will only come in a new administration.
Kentucky Representative James Comer, chair of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee on Newsmax. President Biden and the First Lady returned from Delaware to the White House today. The president is scheduled to deliver remarks on the American with Disabilities Act later this afternoon, and that is the extent of his day. Let's go back to Tom Basile for more on President Biden.
So we apparently don't really need a president. I'll get to that in a moment. But first, there was a time, when visitors to New York by car or plane or ship, they'd be welcomed by the sight of the Empire State Building, rising more than 1,400 feet above Midtown Manhattan. It was unmistakable in its size, in its prominence, in its design. It was a singular achievement, grand and unique. Even from miles away, the sight of its spire heralded your arrival in a place that was truly special. It was a symbol of America herself. Today, however, as the towers along Billionaires Row and what they call Hudson Yards reach higher and new clusters of buildings rise above the bedrock, the Empire State Building is increasingly lost in a sea of less inspired architecture, overtaken, if not by height, but by the crowding out of steel and glass around it. The American presidency was once like that Empire State Building. Among the three co-equal branches of government, one reached a little higher in the minds of Americans as a symbol of our republic. The individual who had the honor to serve in that post would be a guardian of our Constitution, embody the strength and the values of the nation. But no more. Now we've reached that moment that our founders feared the most, and it's been coming for decades. That moment when the elected president is less relevant than the unelected apparatus of the central government, crowded out by the seemingly untamable machinery of the state. After being at the beach for 2 weeks and having virtually no public schedule for nearly 2 months, President Joe Biden returned to his beautiful prison at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue the other night and had this to say to reporters.
President, how was it to be back on the campaign trail today?
It was good.
Good? How do you feel about Pennsylvania?
Except I'm not able to go out in the crowds anymore. The Secret Service doesn't let me.
No, why not?
Well, because it says it's too dangerous. No one gets to go out.
They say it's too dangerous. Well, to call that a little dubious would be an understatement. But then again, this is the same man who has repeatedly indicated that he'll get in trouble from some faceless handler if he takes questions or goes off script. When it comes to Mr. Biden and Ms. Harris, you can't help but wonder who is really calling the shots. Over the last number of weeks, more and more Americans have rightly wondered who's really running the country. Doesn't appear to be Joe Biden, and it's certainly not Kamala Harris. The intentional shelving of Mr. Biden isn't just a brazen political maneuver. It's a powerful statement about the unbridled extra-constitutional power of the executive branch. Some call it progress, of course, but when progress diminishes something truly great and aims to change its very nature, it's not progress at all. We've come to not really need an active president. Mr. Biden can sit on a beach or have no public appearances for the rest of his term. He can nap in the White House residence in the afternoons and turn in for the night at 8 p.m. while Ms. Harris campaigns without any real responsibility. The political apparatchiks and the layers of bureaucracy will just kind of run things. Like the Empire State Building, the presidency is still among the greatest of structures, but its impact has been diminished by public employee unions, career bureaucrats, and individuals with more money, more power, and more influence. There's a reason why the idea of Donald Trump enlisting the assistance of Elon Musk in breaking the government censorship complex and bringing innovation and efficiencies to Washington is so intriguing right now. There's a reason why draining the swamp and closing government departments are frequent campaign promises on the right. Our founders were wary of a government that would devolve into authoritarianism. Abraham Lincoln encapsulated their vision as a government of the people, by the people, and for the people in the Gettysburg Address. There has never been a vision of an America that included hundreds of executive branch departments and agencies and offices and commissions. So many, in fact, it is virtually impossible to ascertain the exact number.
Great stuff, as always, from Tom Basile, host of America Right Now, Saturday mornings on Newsmax, one of the many must-watch weekend shows. And I'll wrap it up with this little gem. Elton John did an interview with Variety magazine. I just happened to come across this on X. I don't know if it was actually this weekend. I just want to put that out there, but Variety magazine, it appears, was really hoping that they could get Elton John, who, you know, is a very rich gay entertainer, to say something negative about Donald Trump. Even starting off the question with, I know you don't support Donald Trump.
I know that you're not a supporter of Donald Trump's. He loves your music. How did it feel when he took the lyrics to Rocket Man and he used it as a nickname for Kim Jong-un, and then he gave Kim Jong-un
I laughed. I thought it was brilliant. I just thought, good on you, Donald. I'm the Rocket Man, yeah. Donald's always been a fan of mine, and he's been to my concerts many, many times. So, I mean, I've always been friendly towards him, and I thank him for his support. Yeah, when he did that, I just thought it was hilarious. It made me laugh.
He gave Kim one of your CDs and signed it. That was in one of the books about him, because Kim, I guess, didn't know the song, so...
What's that?
He gave Kim Jong-un the signed CD.
Yes.
You know, which
yeah.
he never heard of it.
I know, because he hasn't heard of me, Kim Jong-un. Maybe I'd be very surprised if he had. I've never toured North Korea, and I have no intention of doing so. But it was. I thought it was a light moment, and it was fun.
I laughed. I thought it was brilliant. Good on you, Donald, and good on you, Elton John. And good news on Wall Street. Stock markets opened well into the green for a change this morning. Good way to kick off the new week. We do have a CPI report. That's the Consumer Price Index coming out, and that will be followed later in the week by the Fed meeting, where the Feds are expected to cut interest rates, and we'll see if it's a quarter of a point, 25 basis points, or a half of percentage point, 50 basis points. And either way, hopefully the market will have a great reaction to that. So between the debate and whatever the Federal Reserve is going to do, it's going to be a pretty big week. So strap in and be sure to keep up with all of the news on Newsmax and Newsmax.com. Make sure you're streaming on Newsmax Plus for all of your favorite shows, hosts, guests, documentaries, and more. Rob Schmidt tonight. Greg Kelly reports, The Record with Greta Van Susteren, Newsline with Bianca De La Garza, Chris Salcedo, Wake Up America, and more. That's NewsMaxPlus.com. I'm Tony Marino. Thank you for listening to the NewsMax Daily. Enjoy your Monday and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the NewsMax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Hey, it's
Jerry Callahan from The Callahan Show. You can listen to us every day. We react to the latest news, politics, sports, and all the madness in the world. I'll give you my opinion with a little edge, a little attitude. I'm an unapologetic right-winger, trapped behind enemy lines in deep blue Boston, so I'm used to taking on the mainstream media mob. You can hear us anywhere you get your podcast, or you can listen every day at newsmax.com/listen.
It's our America. We conquered it. We built it. Great values like honesty and fairness. Great courage. A great nation needs a free press. NEWSMAX is it. 30 million Americans regularly go to NEWSMAX when they really need to know. They watch NEWSMAX TV at home. On the free NEWSMAX app, they go to newsmax.com. Start today. NEWSMAX is real news